Okay, this is for CIS265. We're going to be talking about practical animation. And what you'll do at first is go through this top section. It'll ask you to open up playgrounds and learn little bit more about animating views. So it'll show you how to move some squares around stuff. Yep, go through all this stuff here. You'll paste all these, or you'll type all this stuff into playgrounds and experiment with it. Read through all this. But where people get stuck is usually down here in the set up a new view. So we'll follow the instructions starting about here where it says set up the new view. And basically what it wants us to do is to make a little music player, and the buttons are going to animate. It's going to look awesome. And I'm going to create a new Xcode project. It's going to be called Music Wireframe. Just a regular new iOS app. It's going to be storyboard, using storyboard, and in the language of Swift. We'll throw it on the desktop, sure. Let's expand all this stuff over here. Take a look at the storyboard. First thing it wants us to do is to drag a UI image view on there. So we're going to go ahead and click the little plus sign over here. Search for image. There's an image view. Okay, so I'm going to drag this image view up here. I'm going to kind of give it some space. Drag it out there. Maybe about to here. Album art's usually like kind of like a square. Constrain it to the top, the leading and the trailing edge. And make it 1:1, it says. That's interesting. All right, so I guess what that's saying is we want to constrain it to this one, snap those on, and aspect ratio, I believe. Okay. Let's go ahead and make sure that the width and the height are matching. So the width, it says, is 374. Let's make the height 374 also, just so it matches. And I'm going to go down here now and just click Update Constraints. Update Constraints. Boop, and that should make sure the aspect ratio stays the same, and it's 1:1. What next? Next, add the stack view and the buttons, it says. Okay, so I want some stack views. So the way that that it's laid out, there's like 3 buttons and they're in a horizontal pattern here. So like rewind, play, fast forward, that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and do a horizontal stack view in that case. We'll put it down here. I want to have it underneath this, and I'm going to drag this over here, put this over here, and let's give some constraints to this as well, I believe, right? So I'm just going to add some constraints to this as well for now. Something like that, and I think I want the height to be about that high all the time. So I'm going to add those constraints. I might be wrong. We'll see. But it seems happy. Okay, and then we're going to add some buttons to that. So I'm going to click the plus sign button. It wanted 3 buttons. These buttons will probably look all weird until we add our constraints and size them up. Stack views are weird like that. Everything is going to be strange at first. Don't worry about it. So it wants us to delete the text inside the buttons. Okay, we're deleting the text. And then it said that you can use some kind of built-in iconography, built-in graphics. It says right here, in the Attributes Inspector, delete the button's title and set their image property to use the system images called backward.fill, play.fill, and forward.fill. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So here's the button. in the attributes inspector over here, I assume that's what they mean. Here we go. Look at this. Okay. So the first one is going to be backwards.fill, this one. The middle one is going to be play.fill. There it is. And this one over here is going to be forward.fill. Wonderful. Use the symbol configuration to adjust their point size appropriately. The heck does that mean? Symbol scale. Symbol configuration. Let's make them large. Large. And large. Okay. Now I want all these to be the same width, right? So I think there's a way to do that down here. Equal widths, that's what we want. Equal widths and probably equal heights also. So I'm going to add those constraints and see what happens. All right, I'm cool with that. Are you cool with that? That's good. Fine. Okay, for the center button, configure the play fill image for the default state and the pause fill image for the selected state. Then mark the button state as selected in the attributes inspector so the pause image is visible by default. Okay. So now it wants us to take the center button and say, for the center button, configure the play fill image for the default state. Okay, that's where we are. Default state is play image. But then the pause fill image for the selected state. So you click on the center button here, you change the state to selected, oops, not highlighted, selected, and then we're going to change that image from the play image to the pause image, pause fill, okay? Then mark the button's state as selected in the attributes inspector control section so the pause image is visible by default. So now it wants us to make this, oh, I want to change the scale to large for pause as well. Oh, here we go. Down here at the bottom, you'll see we want to change this to selected. See how it changed to a pause button now? Boop, boop. So the default is going to be, evidently, the default is going to be pause. Control, so the pause image is visible by default. Kind of weird, like you would think that you wouldn't automatically play, but okay. Use auto layout and stack views to neatly display the buttons. So I did like kind of arrange them already. Now add 3 UI view instances to the view. These will act as the finger shadow. Okay, so add 3 UI view instances to the view. These will act as the finger shadow. Allow their color to be light gray. Adjust the color to be light gray. Add constraints. So, interesting. So we're adding 3 views. So I'm looking at the configuration here. It looks like the stack view is all by itself and the other views are behind it. So the view is not inside of the stack view. That's crazy, okay, because constraints are going to have to be set very specifically for them to always line up. I don't like this one bit, but I'm going to follow what the book says. So there's one view. I'm going to change the background color to light gray like it said. Light gray color. Okay. Now, this button is in a stack view and it's got its own weird constraints. It just says to adjust their color light gray and add constraints to center the views behind each button. All right, y'all. This is kind of wild and crazy, but I will try to center them using constraints. I mean, like the easy way to do it, I suppose, would be just to specify the height and the width and the location, right? But then when you change devices, it's not going to match up, right? But let's just, let's see. We'll do our best, right? We'll just do our best. You can spend hours on constraints. I'm just going to say we want this to be from the image view. Yep, the image view. But we want it to be 37 from the image view. We also like the width and the height that we got going on here. And we'll keep it this far from that bottom view there. And let's also try, let's leave this one open for now. Okay. Cool. I'm cool with that. Let's just stick with that, right? That's a crazy ask because the stack view is going to move around quite a bit. In real life, I would put the images inside of the stack view and match them with the buttons, and then use like some kind of Z thing to put the button behind the view behind the button. All right, next it wants us to add outlets to all these, right? It wants all these outlets here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this. It's going to give me some kind of garbage that I'm going to have to delete, but at least it'll match exactly what the book wants. So we want this to be in the view controller. So we're going to click the view controller here. And let's go ahead and just plunk those outlets in here. Boop. Oh, look at that. It didn't give me any garbage above and below. Thank you so much, Apple, for fixing that. So now we got to make those connections. We put the outlets in, but we didn't actually make the connections. So we'll go back over here to Storyboard. Click on the top bar in the Storyboard here. Click on this last little tabby, and you'll see here's all our stuff. So this is the album view. I guess that's this one. The forward background. So that's the... Gosh, how are you going to... Okay, that's the button. How are you going to select the background, huh? Let's see, which one is it here? That's... So I'm just going to rename them over here so we know. So this is rewind. This one over here is center. And this view here is the forward background. Okay. So this is the backgrounds. And so now all we got to do is we click up here again. And forward background, that's this one. Forward button, that's this button. Play pause background, that's this center one. Play pause button, that's this one. Reverse background, that is this one. And then reverse button, that is this button. Cool. Okay. Following with the instructions now. So it wants you to make a little finger shadow. That's cool. So it's going to use these the corner radius and clip to bounds. That's cool. So inside of the view did load, it wants us to plunk this code here. Sounds good. So I'm going to Command C that and slide up here, go back to the storyboard, go back to view controller. Inside of view did load here, give us some space, paste that code down. And what this is going to do, it's going to change the corner radius of that background layer. And it's just going to it's going to curve the edges basically. Wants it to look kind of like this, see? So let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and build and run this and see if it works. So it's taking those outlets we just made and just kind of making those gray buttons circular. I'd be surprised if they lined up pretty well, but and why is this one missing again? I don't know. Also, they had their buttons as black and mine are blue. So I think I'll change the color a little bit. And why is this one all big and wonky? All right. So I'm going to select these buttons here, and I'm going to change the color to black because that's what the book has. So the tint down here to black. And let's build and run again. Yeah, I don't know why this one's missing. Ah! All right, whatever. Check this out. I'm going to also, it kind of bugs me that those views are not matching. So I'm going to select these views, all three of them, and let's see if I can at least make them equal height. All right, so I try to make them equal height, and now I hit play again. Now they're equal height, but not equal equal altitude. Oh my gosh, you could spend hours doing this. Let's see here. View. All right, see the difference? Look, watch. 1, 2, 3. This bar here, this blue bar, is going up to the top. I'm going to select this bar. I'm going to hit delete on that. Now I'm going to select this one again, this forward again. And I'm going to add a constraint from here up, 37 to the image view. All right, so now that constraint should match the other ones. All right, build and run. Okay. All right, I can live with that. Now this last one, I'm not exactly sure why that plus sign is still like not visible, but look, it's visible here. What the heck is going on there? So let's take a look and just make sure there's nothing obvious. Forward, middle, but backward. They all are the same. The stack view is above them all. This button, the forward button, is there anything special about it? All right, well, let me know in the comments if you figure out why it is that the simulator sometimes hides certain buttons. That's obnoxious, but I'm not going to worry about it. It could be a constraint thing. Like maybe it's in there, but it's just like super tiny. At least kind of matches where these gray things are. I'm going to build and run. It shows it fine in here. I don't know what's going on, why the simulator is not showing it. If you can figure that out, then kudos to you. We're just going to keep moving forward here because I'm not sure why that one is not visible. But these two are, so let's just stick with that. Okay, keep moving. Set the background view's alpha value to 0 to make them transparent when the view loads. Okay, so it wants us to make those gray things not visible when the view loads. So we'll select them over here, and we're changing the alpha to 0. And alpha to 0, and the alpha to 0. Okay, so that's basically making them kind of invisible when the view loads. Since you're doing the same adjustment to each view, you could opt to use for each method on the array of views, which applies a closure to all of its items like that. Or you can use a bool property to keep track of whether the song is playing, which will impact your properties. All right, let's go ahead and throw this in as well, because that's kind of a cool little bit of code. So in the view controller here, we're going to plunk this down underneath our stuff. So it says for each of these buttons, then set the corner radius, and also clip to bounds and set the view. So basically this can go away, because now we're adjusting the corner radius inside this for loop. Let's build and run to make sure this is still functioning. What we should see is, actually we shouldn't see anything because the gray boxes are going to be circles and they're going to go disappear. So let's move on to the next. You can use a bool property to keep track of whether the song is playing, which will impact your properties. If you'd like, you can also use the property observer to automatically update the play pause button state. Is playing. So yeah, let's do that. So that is going to be up inside that view controller again. So we're going to click on the view controller up here. And then up above the view controller, kind of underneath your IB outlets, you can throw this variable. It's a property that is playing, and it's got initialization, I guess, to true. But it's got a did set, which means like if you set this thing, if you select it, then is playing changes to false. No. If it's selected, then it is playing. Then is playing is set to true. That's kind of cool. I like did sets. Nice little bit of code there. If you build and run your app, you should see a very similar screen to your last build, but the finger shadow are no longer visible. If you'd like to see your circular views, you can comment out the line. The alpha line. It's time to focus on the animation though, right? So we need some actions, some IB actions. Play button. Play pause button tapped. Okay. So it wants us to add a new action for that. I'm going to throw that underneath these IB outlets here. Actually, I'll put it underneath view did load. So down here, I'm going to put the play pause button tapped. We're going to make a connection now. So go back here to your storyboard. Select the top bar in the storyboard and this last little button there. And then at the very bottom are your actions. And then you'll just click and drag this from here to here. And touch up inside is the one you want to select. Boom. Cool. That makes that connection. Stop. I am going to go back into the book and see what they want next. They want us to toggle the is playing property when you click the button. Okay. And set the image for its new state. All right, cool. So, well, they did a lot of work for us here. Thank you so much, Apple. So we're going to copy and paste that in because that's how we roll, and then we'll talk about it. So let's throw this inside of the play pause button action here. Boop. So is playing is the bool we just made, that did set bool up here. And toggle just switches it. If it's true, it's false. If it's false, it's true. Then we've got this, hey, now that you've toggled it, if it's playing, then animate it this way. If it's not playing, then animate it this way. And the animation has a duration. That's cool. With spring dampening. Fancy. Let's just see what it looks like. That's cool. So I'm building and running. Command R. Ooh. That's a very weird animation to happen when you click play, but I like it. If anything, you would think that, yeah, okay, yeah. When you're playing it, it's like closer to you. When you pause it, it's further away. That does make sense. Okay, I'm down with that. Are you ready to add the animations that make your buttons look like they're being touched? Start by adding 2 actions to the reverse button. Touched up inside. All right, so touch down, touch up. These are very weird names for these actions. Oh, I see. That's because it's going to take the sender, the button sender. Because I was going to say, how do you know if you're touching reverse or play? But I think it's going to get that information from the sender, perhaps. So I'm going to copy their actions here because Apple knows what they're doing. and I'll just trust that they do, and I'll throw it down here and say, cool, we'll make those connections. I believe you'll have to make those connections for both of them, but let's take a look what they say. Next, connect the other two buttons to the same method. Yeah, this is not a typical configuration. Each method is responsible for a different action, so it's reasonable to separate the functions. So before, you need to figure out which button was tapped and how are they doing that. Switch statement. I see. So touchdown is right here. Let's go ahead and put this code inside of touchdown. Boop. Now let's see, how do they do this? So it's going to switch on the sender, and it's checking to see if this reverse button's view was tapped, or the play button view was tapped, or the forward button view is tapped. That's pretty cool stuff there. I didn't know you could do that. And then we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to animate it then. So we'll take that background that we've found. We've assigned it to something. So we're assigning this button background. And down here below, we're going to say, hey, button background, do something cool. And it's going to animate it. Let's see. And then touched up inside needs an animation too. Or else, let's just build and run and see what happens. Actually, before we build and run, we have to connect that. So that action we just made, I'm going to select up here and touch down. Let's just take touch down, touched down, and then click and drag over here. And now instead of touch up inside, we're doing touch down. Click over here and select touch down. Now I assume this other one, I'm going to make the connection now because I'm here, is going to be touch up inside, I think. Touch up inside. Now this, I can already anticipate there's going to be some kind of a weirdness. If you click touch down and then drag your finger out and touch up outside, then I wonder if that animation will ever unanimate. But we'll see. There's my other button. Okay, so touchdown. Oh, did you see that? Touchdown. Oh, touchdown. What the heck's going on here? All right. So we might have some buttons and views flipped a little bit here. We'll have to take a closer look at that. But that was kind of cool. Stop. Where's it getting that reverse button? Reverse background. So let's go ahead and take a look at our storyboard and make sure we've got them all queued up right. So I'm going to click up here, album. So forward. Oh, why is the forward one over there? Okay, so I'm going to click this. And then the reverse one is the forward one. Oops. So the reverse background, I'm going to look at the views here. That one's forward. Oh, I named them wrong. All right, reverse, forward. Okay, so now I'm going to reconnect them. That's funny. I wonder how long someone has noticed that when they're watching this video. Okay. Build and run that again and see what kind of effect we have now. So now at least when I click on one button over here, it should be this one that lights up. Okay, good. Good and good. Okay. That makes a little more sense now. All right, so now we're going back to the view controller. Now we're going back to the book, and there must have been a code down here. Yeah, this is for the touch up inside the button. So I'm going to copy this, slam it inside of the touch up function. Boom. And now build and run and just see. What should happen is if you click down and up, the gray should light up and then go away. So click and let go, and click and let go, click, let go, click, let go. That is cool stuff, right? Now, my question is, now if you click down and then drag out of the button and let go, yeah, then the gray stays. Then you have to click a couple times for it to go away. That's cool. All right. Yeah, and I think that's it. So we want to see that you can get to this point where you've got buttons to click, and when you click on the buttons, the gray thing flashes in and out. I personally am not like concerned with it completely lining up with the buttons, like exactly. That is not my concern. My concern is that you can click and animate them. So if you get something like this, then good job. You did well. Hopefully this was helpful for you. This was not an easy assignment. Great job out there, and keep it up.